All right, let's talk about Hannah Kobayashi. We know she's been found. We know she's alive. But there's a couple of things that have been drawn to my attention that I want to talk about her, especially the fact that in some people's eyes, including the law, if this alleged marriage fraud actually happened, then she's a criminal. She's a criminal. If, and I say if, it's all alleged. We know nothing more than what we read. But I want to go over some of that. First, let's talk about Hannah coming back to the United States of America. You know, I kind of have a little bit of an attitude about Hannah because everybody, so many people were so concerned. All the YouTube channels focused on that when there's actually a lot of people that we on YouTube don't focus on that probably deserve it a lot more than Hannah Kobayashi. My opinion on Hannah, I'll be right back with that. All right, everyone, welcome to Left Undone Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathy. I have returned from the abyss of busy life, and we'll see how it goes. So, Hannah Kobayashi, a little annoyed with her right now. You know how many people are lost on this or missing that would love this attention brought to them, and now Hannah's saying that she had no idea that the world was looking for her. I don't know. I'm seriously kind of annoyed about her whole thing. So Hannah, as they say, the Hawaiian woman who disappeared at LAX prompted weeks-long search in the city of Los Angeles, which has millions of people. She spoke out for the first time since she came back from her little getaway in Mexico. So her family issued a statement. At daybreak on December 15th, I crossed the border back into the United States, Kobayashi said in a statement provided by her aunt, Lori Pigeon. My focus now is on my healing, my peace, my creativity. I'm deeply grateful to my family and my father that jumped and killed himself. That's me. I added that part. And everyone who has shown me kindness and compassion during this time. In the statement, Kobayashi said that she didn't learn of the media coverage. Eye roll. I'm eye rolling, you guys. While I was away, and I'm still processing it all. I kindly ask for respect for myself, my family, my loved ones as I navigate through this challenging time. Thank you for understanding, she wrote. So, as we know, she disappeared after missing her November 8th connecting flight to New York at LAX. She missed it on purpose. We all know that now, allegedly. And she was reported missing after her family said she sent them cryptic text messages, which if she sent them those, she was being a jerk, in my opinion, suggesting that her identity and money had been stolen. Let's just freak everybody out. Oh, my healing. The investigation culminated with the Los Angeles Police Department classifying her as a voluntary missing person. And her family was still pissed. Remember that? They extended a lot of energy, a lot of time, and a lot of money looking for Hannah. And her family was like, oh, we don't believe them. She's in trouble. They said there was no evidence of criminal activity. True there. And they did say there was a video showing her crossing the border. You can cross that border very easily down in San Diego. I've done it a million times. You park, you cross, you go over. Shouldn't have a car. The bus drops you off, walk in. You can walk into Tijuana, you can walk in. So police said they got notification from Customs Border Patrol that she re-entered the United States from Mexico this past Sunday and appeared in good health. The case was closed. Womp womp, Hannah. But, and they removed her from the missing person list, the missing and unidentified person systems. Now, her family, like I said, they pushed back big time on the police narrative that their loved one, Hannah, had gone off on her own, insisting that she was still missing. It's all nonsense at this point. She did use cash on November 12th. She's 30 years old, by the way. So if she wants to voluntarily disappear, go ahead. Just go. My 35-year-old son, I don't know where he is right now. Am I calling the missing persons? Nope, because he went somewhere on his own. I mean, adults are allowed to go somewhere on their own. But Hannah, in their defense, did send these bizarre cryptic messages, which freaked them out because she's a sweet daughter, huh? I don't know. I'm annoyed that this got this much attention and it was all her. Father Ryan went to Los Angeles to look for his missing daughter, and they found his body on November 24th near LAX. And it was a suicide, as they say. Kobayashi's mother, Brandy, and sister, Sydney, confirmed that she was, in fact, found safe on the 1-month anniversary of her Gone Girl disappearance. They said, we're glad she's safe. She admitted she felt betrayed over the ordeal involving her sister. Sister Sydney says, as you can imagine, we are extremely relieved and glad that my sister is alive. And seemingly okay. But we also have mixed and overwhelming feelings of exhaustion, devastation, and betrayal, she wrote in a lengthy post last week. In part, we are kindly asking the public to respect our privacy and offer us grace for a moment while we are still grieving. I hope she's talking about Ryan, the dad, grieving for him. There's still so much unknown and so much that needs to be navigated. How about a psych eval? I mean, seriously, that's the only thing that I'd give her grace for at this point. You know, they thought she'd been kidnapped or sex trafficked when she didn't get to New York. You know, her dad was only 58 years old. It's just bizarre. That authorities, to get to the marriage fraud, were also previously exploring possible claims that Hannah might have been the victim of a potential marriage scam. Okay, when I would go to Hawaii all the time when I was younger, we stayed with this guy who worked at Moose McGillicuddy's bar. And he was just a friend. We made friends with people in Hawaii. We were young and we had fun and we'd go there all the time. And he was married. He was married for money. And it was one of those marriage scams. He was married. They had to have a fake that the wife was living with him in case they showed up to check. And it was a marriage scam. So people do it. And I'm just kind of wondering now if that's kind of a thing in Hawaii, only because when I knew of somebody doing it, it was in Hawaii. Now, let's talk about the consequences of marriage fraud. So, marriage fraud is a federal crime in the United States that can result in criminal penalties and severe immigration consequences. A person convicted of marriage fraud can face up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. A person who participates in fraudulent marriages may be barred from obtaining a visa petition, meaning the other person, right? The person they're trying to get the citizenship for. This bar is permanent and applies to family-based, employment-based, and self-petitions. Marriage fraud is defined as entering into a marriage with the primary intention of evading immigration laws. For example, a U.S. citizen might marry an immigrant to help them obtain permanent resident status, even though they don't tend to actually live together or be married as a couple. It's just for the immigration purposes. Immigration officials look for signs of fraudulent marriage, including lack of shared residence, minimal joint financial assets, significant age differences, differing cultural religious backgrounds, and short time between meeting and marriage. The Immigration Marriage Fraud Amendment Acts of 1986 was enacted to discourage the use of fraudulent marriages to obtain permanent residence. Let's see. How often do people get caught? According to the USCIS, several hundred cases of marriage fraud are discovered each year. Most of these become apparent during the process of naturalization, and the individuals involved never successfully become U.S. citizens. But they pay people to help them become a U.S. citizen. So, in very simple terms, the marriage fraud means just marrying someone for the sole purpose of getting citizenship in the country. Now, there are people that can be in real relationships with somebody that are foreign. Like I have aunts, my grandmother, this is old school, right? But they were actually getting married, getting their citizenship, marrying, coming to the US. But it was a Greek person that they married and brought here to be married to and raise children with and that kind of thing. When they get suspicious, they will investigate. They often it's simple documentation, marriage certificate, but they will ask for other kinds of documentation that can back this up to prove the marriage is genuine. They might, for instance, ask to see proof that you have combined your bank accounts. They might want to see pictures of the two of you together over time, demonstrating how close you are. They could demand to see utility bills listing both of you as residents at the same address. In addition, they will ask you questions directly as part of what's known as a Stoke, Stokes interview. And during this process, an immigration officer will ask you questions, both together and separately. You go over there, and compare your answers. And the question can sometimes be very personal and may even feel invasive. They might include anything that could establish your relationship. How many televisions do you have in your home? What kind of birth control do you use? Do you have any pet? Who makes the meals? What time did you go to bed last night? Failure to provide the same answers can be taken as a sign that you're attempting to commit marriage fraud. So any behaviors that seem suspicious, they may get investigated. They may investigate you. And there are such things as immigration attorneys that you can hire. But Hannah Banana wasted a whole lot of time, in my opinion, unless she legitimately had a mental health crisis. But if she's involved in this alleged marriage fraud scam, up they throw the book at her. I was just talking to one of my mods. We're like, yeah, hope they throw the book at her. She wasted a lot of time, and she is not this sweet little girl that got lost in LA. I'm kind of annoyed. Can you tell? You can tell. You can probably tell. My sarcasm is here. Kind of my Lori Vallow kind of sarcasm. Anyway, I was just checking in. I wanted to talk about Hannah because she pissed me off. Stay safe and stay well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.